Mental Health, the Up and Up. We're trying to make mental health care clear, helpful, and maybe even fun. We're chatting with licensed therapists, but this is not therapy. These are simply thoughts and ideas for you to discuss with your own therapist and to help you on your journey of complete wellness. Okay, so we have been talking very recently about different modes of addressing a problems.
Or
So,
I'll put it like,
yeah.
what to do when there's nothing you can do.
Yes. And you mentioned something in passing that we're going to hit on later, something about nose hair clippers, and I want to know what that story is. So, but
Go ahead. I'm going to make you wait a little while
okay.
for that story. So there are situations where I think probably everybody has found themselves in at one point or another where something is happening that they don't want to happen. And they're like, there's nothing I can do about this. So I want to address what I said before, what to do when it seems like there's nothing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we get to that point. We've all heard the saying, stuck between a rock and a hard place, right?
Yeah.
And what that means is just choosing what to do is difficult. Choosing A has difficulties or might have a bad result. Choosing B has difficulties, might have a bad result. But you can still choose,
Yeah.
you know? So there's a situation, I don't know what to call it, called a double bind. So being stuck between a rock and a hard place is a bind.
Mm-hmm.
A double bind is being stuck between a rock and a hard place with a couple of additions.
Mm.
One is that this thing is super important to you. So being stuck between a rock and a hard place about where to go to dinner or how short to cut your hair, um, wouldn't be a double bind. It'd still be a bind. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I'm going to like it long or short. I don't know if I want a hamburger or chicken,
Okay.
not a big deal. Another addition that moves a bind into a double bind, which is, a situation where you feel like you're helpless, is that you can't get away. You can't just say, I'm done with this. I'm just moving on.
Mm.
Either because of, just physical things you literally can't leave, or uh, eh, moral things that are keeping you tied, or um, but for whatever reason, it's just not an option to just throw up your hands and say, I'm not going to have chicken or fish.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not going to eat today, you know. And the third thing that moves it from a bind to a double bind is saying out loud, hey, I'm kind of in a bind here, makes the bind tighter. So
Hmm.
it makes it worse.
Okay, so I'm going to put this, I'm going to move this away from the food discussion and
Yep.
give us an example so let's say it's a relationship that you are in. It's a
Hmm.
very meaningful relationship. It's something that is important to you, but there are things happening in the relationship that you're not okay with. They
Hmm.
either are unhealthy, they're harmful, whatever. But you are not in a position to step out of that relationship or take space.
Hmm.
So that would be a real life
Hmm.
issue.
And it's a little, or it's easier to see if you're not talking about a romantic spousal relationship because divorce
True.
can be an option. But if you're talking about a child, an adult
Parent-child
child,
relationship or
hmm
siblings,
hmm
sibling to sibling.
so a real one that I think some people will relate to is if you have an elderly parent with Alzheimer's,
Hmm.
okay, and they scream at you every time you go visit,
Yeah.
okay, you're it's very important to you. This is a relationship that matters. If I go to, my favorite taco restaurant and they scream at me every time, that's not a double bind because
No.
it's not important to me.
Right.
You can't get away. You can't just say, they're being mean and I don't stay around people who are mean to me. because they have Alzheimer's and they're your
Yeah.
parent. It's just not an option. And if you confront someone with Alzheimer's, a lot of times they escalate. So
Mhm.
there's really no way to say, "Hey, mom, can you please stop yelling at me?"
Yeah.
That doesn't calm someone with Alzheimer's down. It tends to escalate them. The other way that might happen is if you don't have a strong support system, or you don't have a support system that really understands Alzheimer's. So you say to your best friend, my mom calls me names. I don't know what to do. It's so hard to visit her. And your friend says, well, just stop visiting her then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, now you still are in the same situation, and you're feeling distance from your friend, and your friend doesn't understand. You don't feel that support at all anymore.
Yeah.
So even saying something to someone else makes it worse. Not even doesn't do anything, but makes
Mhm.
it worse. Another one is addiction. That would be another one where if someone you care about has an addiction, um, again, not a pleasant situation, definitely a bind. But if
Yeah.
you care about them, it's important to you, and you really aren't willing or able to just say to write them out of your life. And if you say, hey, I think you drink too much, they're going to get really mad at you. They're not going to say, oh, hey, good point. Or they're not going to say, oh, thanks for sharing. I disagree. you know.
Or they'll double down and
Hmm.
dig in further and drink more just to prove
Yeah.
that you're wrong
Hmm.
or that you don't have any control over them or whatever, whatever
Yeah.
that instinctive knee-jerk reaction is. It escalates the situation.
Yeah. So saying something makes it worse.
Yeah.
So that kind of takes away options,
Yeah.
right? And they used to think being in that kind of bind, that double bind, caused schizophrenia. That's
Hmm.
how that's how kind of impactful they believed that double binds were. And I think double binds are that impactful. They don't cause schizophrenia, but they definitely can feel crazy making. When people use the term crazy making, I think
Mhm.
this is, you know, the exact definition of that.
Yeah.
Something has to change. You can't change it. You can't ignore it. You can't say anything about it.
Right.
Yeah. So I kind of want to joke and say, so that's the end of our podcast. You can't do anything.
You can't do anything. Good luck. No.
So um, there are a couple of things uh, to make that in order to respond to a to respond to a double bind.
Okay.
Um, so the typical ways people respond that don't work with a double bind is they either take a passive, assertive, or aggressive approach. And I think most people know, passive is just kind of let it go. Aggressive is how dare you, and assertive is excuse me, but this isn't working for me.
Mhm.
And in the case of someone with a drug addiction, well, just picking that, ignoring it just I say if it crushes your soul, passivity, please don't pick passivity if that being passive crushes your soul. So being passive and just watching someone go downhill from a drug abuse issue, or being passive and just allowing, even though someone has Alzheimer's, allowing them to berate you every time you visit, that
Mhm.
crushes your soul. Not a great option. Being aggressive in those two examples, it's going to make things worse.
Yeah.
Not going to improve anything. Not going to make you feel better or anybody feel better. And in the case of assertive, that's either seen as aggressive, like if I say, "Excuse me, Anna, but it really bothers me that you drink every day 5 gallons of beer."
Mhm.
That's going to be, by you, that's going to be seen as me attacking you.
Yeah.
So assertive also doesn't work. So what we're left with is passive aggressive, and which um,
Which
I
passive
call it,
aggressive has gotten a very, very bad rap over many, many years.
and 100% it can be used for harm, but so can passive. Uh, ignoring problems that we all see.
Yeah.
Um, being passive can cause a lot of pain, a lot of problems. Being aggressive absolutely can cause pain. Assertive, I'd have to think about a little bit, but yeah, passive aggressive is pretty universally seen as
Unhealthy.
unhealthy,
Say,
immature.
I would
Huh?
say a bad use of assertive would be ultimatums.
Ah,
Because
uh-huh.
9 times out of 10, issuing an ultimatum does not help your situation.
Right. Yeah. Or at least having that. I think there is a time to say, hey, if this continues going on, I'm going to
Absolutely.
do
There
this.
there
But
are
that's, yeah.
definitely, but
Hmm.
that's different than saying you either do it my way or else. I
Yeah.
guess there's a difference between saying do it my way or else, or saying, "Hey, I can't live with this anymore, so if you don't make changes, I'm going to."
Yeah.
I guess they still are both ultimatums. Anyway, that's a side
But
tangent.
it's a progression. It's like any progression, like anger, I'm annoyed, I'm pissed, I'm
Mm,
angry, I'm furious.
yeah.
So ultimatums, or they can be seen as information, and then consequences, and then boundaries, and then
Hmm.
you know rules, and then ultimatums. And it kind of depends on where you are in the process and how the other person perceives it.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I've said consequences that definitely have been taken as ultimatums.
Yeah.
If you continue to do that, I'm going to take your toy away, whatever.
Right.
you know, uh, Certainly in parenting, you think you're giving a consequence, and your kids always think it's a punishment or an ultimatum.
Yeah.
But yes, that would be one example of like a misuse of assertive. The best example, I forgot about this, I've seen of a misuse of assertive
Okay.
is a cartoon um, I once saw, and it's of a man facing Godzilla.
Okay.
And the caption is, Irving just took an assertiveness training course. And it's the man saying to Godzilla, "Excuse me, Godzilla, can you step aside?" It's like, no.
Not the right moment.
Right, right. So I think the same can be true for passive aggressive. What you want to do is, like with anything else, think about whether it's hurting yourself or hurting someone else. And but passive aggressive is basically saying one thing and doing another. Okay. And I'll give you the example that I'm pretty sure most people will kind of get in a real aha way.
Okay.
Is in World War II, English prisoners of war were made to work in factories in Germany
Yeah.
making munitions that were going to kill their friends and family members. You
Right.
know, uh, Definitely not a, passive is going to crush their soul, right? Aggressive is going to get them killed. Assertive is going to look like aggressive and get them killed. So what do? Sit and allow their soul to be crushed?
Hmm.
So they did something. I don't know what they did with munitions, but in the factory where they made uniforms, they were very thoughtful about how often they did this. But every once in a while, when they sewed gloves, they would sew two of the fingers closed. Right? So
Nice.
they didn't endanger their own health and safety. Um, they actually kind of didn't even endanger the soldier who put on that glove's health and safety. It was just an annoyance.
Right.
But it didn't crush their soul. If they sat there day after day making things that they knew were going to be used to kill people, let
Yeah.
alone their friends and family, you see how that's soul crushing,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
So, in my opinion, a very appropriate time to be passive aggressive, to not be upfront and say, "Excuse me, jailer, you know, I choose not to work here."
Yeah.
You see the moral conflict, don't you? Is that making sense, Anna?
It is. Yeah.
Okay. You're looking thoughtful. Something on
Uh,
your mind, or
no,
just
keep
thinking?
going.
Okay. So, so here's my nose hair clipper example
Okay.
that you were
Yes.
anticipating. Um, uh, this is my ex-in-laws. They're both passed away. They're not going to be hurt by this story. And nobody else knows this, I don't think. Uh, so I did think about that. But one year for Christmas,
Mhm.
my father-in-law got my mother-in-law a lampshade because one of the lampshades in the house was broken.
Okay.
That was the Christmas present that she opened Christmas morning in front of the extended family. I'm there like, "Ah, what?
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
that's not a gift." I felt bad for her until he opened his gift. She had given him a nose hair trimmer
Okay.
as a Christmas gift to open in front of extended family,
Ah.
right? I I believe both of those were maybe cruel passive aggressive. Like, that's
The
embarrassing.
public shaming is a
Yeah.
bit much, I would
Yeah.
say.
Yeah. And I can't imagine how they couldn't think that that would be harmful to the other person, you know.
Yeah.
However, I was so just to me that's just a different world. It's just so astounded by that that it's always stuck with me. And not that I find it funny, but it's just that kind of funny. Like, I don't understand this. What's going on? Funny.
Yeah.
Um, but how I take that is that when I have to buy a gift for someone that maybe I like, if we pull names out of a hat and maybe I don't kind of like that person, or it actually doesn't happen a lot, but I keep this idea in mind. If I had to buy a gift for someone that I didn't particularly want to buy a gift for, I'd buy them a hair care product. Not a nose hair clipper, but a hair care something, you know?
Okay.
And for them, it's not harmful. They get a lovely gift from their perspective because my purpose isn't to make a point. That's
Mhm.
what being assertive or being aggressive would do. That's not my point. My point is to not let my own soul be crushed.
Mm.
So I give them that, doesn't hurt them. In my mind, I'm giggling, you
Ah,
know.
okay.
Um,
Because of
Similar
your
to,
own because of your own experiences and backstory, it gives you an inside joke for yourself without
yes,
causing embarrassment, shame, anything,
right,
harm to someone else. I see. Okay.
yeah. And again, I can't even think of a time that that's happened. I can't think of a time I wouldn't want to give someone a gift, but that concept, right?
Yeah. Okay.
There's yeah, there's another story. This is when this idea was first presented to me. This was the story that it was presented with, was that there was um, there's someone going to law school wanting to be an environmental lawyer,
Okay.
very much interested in fighting, you know, corporations fighting the man. She didn't want to be part of, I don't know, the legal industrial complex, whatever.
Right.
However, to get her degree, she had to go to court wearing a suit, which she
Mhm.
would much rather wear Birkenstocks, and didn't agree with that idea that in order to be taken seriously, I need to wear a suit. And
Mhm.
honestly, I think still for women, a skirt or a dress, not even pants.
Yeah.
Definitely did not agree with that. Passive, just to her, was like giving in and
Okay.
crushed her soul.
Yep.
Aggressive, she's not going to pass her class and she's going to piss off the judge, you
Yeah.
know. Assertive is going to do the same thing as aggressive, you
Mhm.
know. So so the other thing, it was very important to her. She couldn't run away again and achieve her goals.
Right.
And saying something out loud, saying, "Hey, this is bullshit that you don't take me as serious if I wear Birkenstocks."
Mhm.
It just makes it worse. People are going to say, well, then you must not be serious about your getting your law degree, or why aren't you, it's people aren't going to go like, oh, good point.
Yeah.
It's just going to cause more conflict. So definitely a double bind. Passive, aggressive, or assertive doesn't work. She doesn't want to hurt anybody.
Mhm.
So she started wearing flannel boxer briefs underneath her business suit. Again, that private joke, right?
Yeah.
So that private joke of saying, I am not giving in. I'm not um, compromising my values by doing something that compromises my values,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah. It can be hard to find. So part of why passive aggressive has gotten such a bad rap is
Hmm.
because most of the time it's done vindictively and it's
Right.
done to cause hurt to someone else.
Yeah.
Because you're peeved, you feel like you can't behave the way you want to behave. You
Hmm.
feel stuck.
Hmm.
Whatever the reason is, you're mad.
Hmm.
And so people do it as a way to cause hurt to someone else and to create this cycle of causing pain
And avoid blame.
and
Like, oh,
avoid
I
blame.
didn't mean it. Yeah. Oh, that was just a joke. When
Right.
you know it wasn't. Yeah.
But I do think it's hard to find that balance of I need some way to vent my frustration here. I need some way of making sure that I'm being true to who I am,
Hmm.
that does not exacerbate the situation
Hmm.
in a bad way.
It definitely takes some thinking. It's not as quick as aggressive, which again is sometimes appropriate and
Hmm.
definitely has been used to hurt people,
Yeah.
and used when people are angry or want just used to get their own way with no thought, no uh, not caring whether the other person is injured or not.
Right.
But that's also has pretty quick. If you want to be aggressive, you don't have to say like, do I punch them or do I kick them? It
I knew
comes
I was
pretty
doing something wrong. I always think about it too much.
right. And passive is also pretty easy to come up with a solution. You do nothing. You sit there.
Well, and passive can also be used to cause hurt. That's not so.
A
So
hundred
again, we're not
percent.
saying any of these modes are better or worse in that way. It's how you use them.
Hmm.
Um,
Definitely.
Becoming an absentee parent is a very passive thing to do,
Good
and
example.
that's using passivity to make your point, and it's causing harm to others. So again, it can be
Yeah.
used poorly to cause harm to others, not just yourself.
Yeah.
Think I'm coming trying to come back to an example of passive aggression used. I love the World War II example, passive aggression, using it because they are for their own safety and well-being, they and for the rules of engagement as a POW, you have
Hmm.
to abide by the rules of wherever you've been captured, not
Hmm.
kidnapped. Um, and absolutely for your own safety because there are consequences if you don't do what you're told.
Hmm.
Just trying to think of ways to apply that more in every day. So if you're stuck in a relationship with someone who you cannot take space from, you cannot
Hmm.
set boundaries with for whatever reason. Um,
I I don't want to interrupt your train of thought, but I will say that it is something that is pretty individual. Like my nose hair clipper concept isn't going to
yeah,
work for you because you don't have that. You don't know the personalities of those people. You don't know the family
for
dynamics. You
sure.
don't that thing didn't happen to you. Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Well, I just thought of a good example.
Okay,
Again, I just hate that I'm interrupting your
go ahead.
thoughtfulness. There's an example in the book, Perry. Wait, oh gosh, I can't remember what it's called. It's about half gods.
Okay.
Oh shoot. Anyway,
Oh,
it's
Percy Jackson.
Percy Jackson. Thank you.
There you go.
There's an example in Percy Jackson, and I can't remember the exact story, but Percy Jackson's mom is in some sort of relationship and
Yes.
that she can't get out of because she needs him to help financially to help raise her son, and but that person doesn't like the color green, so when she makes chocolate chip cookies, she puts green food coloring in them
Right.
or something like that. Again, you don't want to rile up an abuser,
Right.
but you also don't want to be so passive that to your soul and to your son's soul, also
Mhm.
important, it feels like you're saying this is okay.
Yeah.
You can't leave. Saying something out loud makes it worse, and it's really important to you. So again, stuck, and so green chocolate chip cookies. Again, is there another situation in the world where green chocolate chip cookies are gonna be the answer? Probably not.
Fair.
Yeah. I thought of another one. Shoot, and it went out of my mind. Darn it. You're gonna have to cut this for sure.
It'll be okay. This has kind of gotten rambly, but it's not bad.
Yeah, no, I kinda like the rambliness of it. Gosh, I shouldn't have jumped in with that Percy Jackson example.
That was a good example.
Wait, I know it. Okay. So another example um, was a woman who left an abuser with her small children.
Okay.
Um, Good decision to leave her abuser, very difficult financially.
Mm-hmm.
And the abuser's family, who defended the abuser and thought his abuse was quite all right,
Mm-hmm.
would send clothes for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, definitely a double bind.
Yeah.
If she says something, not only, can't be passive, it crushes her soul. I don't want to take clothes from an abuser
Yeah.
or someone who thinks abuse is okay. Aggressive, not going to work. They're stronger than she is.
Mm-hmm.
Assertive, also not going to work. She probably tried that many times before she decided to leave.
Yeah.
But in this situation, she can't not have her kids have clothes. And
Mm-hmm.
she can't buy, she kind of has, she's stuck. She has to take them. She can't leave. Is that, it's very important to her. Her kids are important to her.
Mm-hmm.
And saying something out loud, like saying to the abuser's parents, "Can you just please send Target gift cards?" isn't going to make it better and is going to make it worse.
Yeah.
And is also going to make it worse for the kids, because they were too young to even, they just saw pretty clothes.
Right.
So what she ended up doing, she ended up buying those little tags that you sew into homemade clothes.
Okay.
And she'd cut off the tag and sew in, I don't know what they said, but lovingly given to you by mom or
Ah.
whatever, and replace, and it was a Target tag, but it kind of made her feel that sense of ownership. I
Mm.
am not giving my children clothes from these people whose morals I absolutely disagree with, but I am giving them clothes, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm changing that process so that my soul isn't crushed, that I don't cause more problems, I don't abandon my children, I still allow my children to have clothes, I'm
Yeah.
not hurting anybody. Her kids probably didn't even notice, but to her, that was enough to take away that defeated feeling or that trapped feeling or that
Yeah.
helpless feeling
Yeah.
that she was kind of putting her stamp on those clothes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I
So
like that.
again, yeah, one that kind of resonates.
A
Yeah.
little. I've
Okay.
I've had similar situations in life where somebody gave me a gift, and they were someone that I did not ethically or morally want around me.
Uh-huh.
But I found, I think in my particular case, this person, it was something dumb. It was something silly, something small. They bought little holiday gifts for everybody in the office, and they bought me something even though we absolutely did not like each other. We absolutely
Uh-huh.
hated each other,
Was
and
it a nose hair clipper?
it was
Just
not. It was a cheap piece of jewelry. It wasn't. It
uh
was it was pretty. It was whatever, but it was from somebody who I didn't want gifts from.
Mhm.
And so I ended up, my passive aggressive thing was just to politely accept it and then throw it away later because it's not something I'm ever going to wear because the connotations of it were just not what I wanted.
Mhm.
So,
I have a similar situation, uh, in which, um, s somebody gave me a gift during a very, medically difficult time in my life,
mhm,
um, and somebody who should have known me really well, and they sent me a gift basket,
Okay.
with coffee. I didn't drink coffee.
Uh-huh.
Um, Waffle mix and syrup. And there's like a big joke with anybody who knew me that my husband loved waffles and I never ate them, so didn't
Ah,
like waffles.
right.
Coffee, waffles, what else was in there? Something else, and they're like, "Do you not this
Know
isn't
who
a
you're talking
gift."
to at all?
Right.
Yes.
This is clearly not a gift. Even if you, um you should, if you know me this well, you should at least know those things about me. The coffee thing too is like when people came to my house, this is way before like coffee shops and Starbucks and people actually made coffee at home out of coffee pots.
Mhm.
Um, Whenever anybody came to visit, including this person, it was like a production. Like I kept coffee in the freezer for guests, and I had to dig out of the bottom shelf behind all the pots and pans, the coffee pot, because I never drank coffee.
Right.
These were not secrets.
Right.
This was, it would have been pretty easy for them to send me, hand lotion or crochet
Sure.
hooks. Crochet hooks and yarn would have been a much
A
nicer
box of
gift.
tea instead, whatever, you know?
Yeah,
Anything.
anything. But it was almost, I don't think it was purposefully insulting, but it ended up being very insulting.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
think that person said, let's pick out the things that she hates most, but it
Mhm.
ended up that way. And
Yeah.
I would look at that, and I'm a big believer in not wasting food. So
Right.
I can't throw it away, right? I'm definitely saying something would get me how dare you? That was a gift, right?
Mhm.
So what I did was I donated it to a raffle
There
of a
you
cause
go.
I
Yeah, yeah,
believed in.
yeah. Absolutely.
It's not worth it to hurt the other person.
Yeah.
You know, um, to me, there's no benefit in that. There's no reason for that.
Mhm.
Um, Being passive really would crush my soul. It was very hard for me. Aggressive,
Eating
not
all those
appropriate.
waffles and drinking that coffee would not have helped. No.
Right? Because I didn't drink coffee or like waffles. Yes.
Exactly.
And saying something out loud definitely would have made it worse. Couldn't really uh, leave both the situation of my medical condition and that relationship.
Yeah.
Um, and it was important to me. It was so a very difficult thing. It took me a couple of months probably to kind of go like, I
Yeah.
can't throw this away. It was all still in like the
The
crinoline. That's not
cellophane.
right. Cellophane. Thank you. The cellophane wrap was really prettily done
Mhm.
up. So I hope it made good money at the raffle. But yeah, it's
That's a good
taking
example
those.
too.
Yeah. So again, there's going to be as many solutions as there are stories.
Yeah.
Uh, for some solutions, for finding a solution for every person, I'd look at something that's very symbolic to you, either
Mhm.
positive or negative, something very meaningful to you, and then think of like maybe even a Loki, the god Loki, the trickster way
Yeah.
of turning the tables, like
The
that
D&D
lawyer.
term chaotic good.
Yeah, yeah. That lawyer, it wouldn't have worked as well if she said, "Well, I'm just going to wear any color suit I want."
Mhm.
Because that just wasn't like a big statement, a big enough statement,
Yeah.
that she wore flannel boxer shorts. Okay, she's flannel, no. Boxer shorts, no. I mean, it's just so it turns it on its head. So, trying to find that can take some creativity.
So to take that back, what I'm liking about this is that what we're showing with passive aggression is that it doesn't have to be snide and it doesn't have to be vindictive. There are other ways to express passive aggression.
Hmm.
Um,
It needs
so
a better
take
name.
it does.
Yeah.
So taking that back to maybe the conversation about Alzheimer's, and if you're dealing with someone with Alzheimer's and they're just having a really erratic moment where they're being volatile, they're yelling at you, they're saying awful things, a passive aggressive option would be, instead of responding in kind, instead of
Hmm.
being aggressive or assertive or just taking it,
Hmm.
you could return on that with a loving gesture, something that's
Mhm.
kind and compassionate and shows love even though they are not being very lovable.
Mhm.
That would be a form of passive aggressive response.
And actually a quite appropriate one for Alzheimer's because, or with any kind of dementia.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with Alzheimer's, I definitely know this, and I think it's true of all kinds of dementia. People lose the more current memories first, and they keep the kind of more basic memories or memories from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, giving that person a lollipop
Right.
probably isn't a good idea for someone who probably has swallowing issues.
Maybe.
But yeah, like a big hug like you would give a kid, or
Mm-hmm.
even very respectfully, a gesture, doing that's saying, "Hey, let's do that magic handshake," or bursting into a kid's song,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
uh, holding out your hand like you're going to shake their hand,
Yeah.
you know, all things like that. Not only are great ideas, but specifically with dementia, are actually will work.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
It resets the situation
Hmm.
in in that specific example.
Hmm.
But that also, I think, is a viable option in a lot of other situations. If you're dealing with someone who, if you're in a relationship you can't get out of with someone like a sibling or a parent, and it's very aggressive, toxic, whatever you want to call it, and you
Hmm.
choose to enter that situation passive aggressively,
Hmm.
layering some love in there, I mean,
Hmm.
that's absolutely, it's not necessarily going to change anything, but if it helps you stay true to your values, if that is one
Hmm.
of your values, absolutely, that's a great option.
And I would add that it may not change anything, other than protect your soul from being crushed.
Exactly,
I
because
do
that's what we're
think it's
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. I do think it's the best way, that if change is possible, to leave that door cracked open,
Hmm.
because if you ignore that person or are super passive, or don't respond at all, or if you respond aggressively or assertively, it is going to make it worse. Not only for you, but probably for that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last thing on this is, um, they've done tons of studies and research on when people are in stuck situations, making any choice is better for your mental health, literally physical health, um, recovery rates, all sorts of things like that, if you make any choice.
Hmm.
So even if it's not a choice that we were talking about, that is meaningful to you or turns the other thing on its head, if you say, I can't fix that situation, but I can choose the color of socks I wear,
Yeah.
it is uh, ridiculously amazing how quickly that works
Hmm.
in, actually having that person either find a different way out, or develop the strength to find a way out, or develop the skills to find a way out.
Yeah.
Um, a couple of examples they've used this in is, there was in Canada at one time a car accident that did one of those, this car hit this car, and then this car hit that car, and then this lane is
Domino
closed, and then
effect.
yeah, and it was literally something like 57 cars,
Oh.
and people were trapped in their cars.
Yeah.
Um, and and again, I always say psychologists get super excited when things like that happen. They go like, "Oh, here's a study of a random sample of people. We
Right.
wish we could cause a big car crash and then study people, but we can't." But they did study, asking people what they did while they were waiting for emergency services, because you just you don't even have enough ambulances to get everybody out, let alone
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
And again, the people who said, I didn't know what to do while I was waiting, but I rolled down the window, or I didn't know what to do while I was waiting, so I sang my favorite song,
Hmm.
versus the people who said, I didn't know what to do when I was waiting. There was nothing I could do.
Hmm.
And again, I bring that up specifically because they can see, again, not perfectly. That's truly not a perfect experiment or research. There's just way too many variables.
As we've talked about, this is all a soft science because getting clinical data is, yeah,
It's difficult.
yeah.
Um, but they did, those people had better medical outcomes.
Mm.
The other real life experience they studied was an old story. I think the whole story is fascinating, but basically, someone kidnapped a busload of children, drove them into a quarry, closed off the end. Basically, children from all ages, this was just a school bus,
Yeah.
kind of random sampling, were stuck really with no way out. Nothing they could do was going to get them out until somebody got them out.
Yeah.
But the kids who said, I'm going to at least build a ramp, or I'm going to move these rocks together to create a chair,
Mm-hmm.
didn't matter what they did,
Mm-hmm.
doing something helped them emotionally afterward.
Mm.
Um, and and again, really hard to get experiments that are structured enough to really tell us definitively what the difference is, but they do use that technique for people in domestic violence situations where they are convinced that they're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
There's a treatment modality where the counselor just says, I just want you to go home and choose something,
Mm-hmm.
reminding yourself that you do have choices, and nothing that your abuser is going to notice, but
Yeah.
that you notice. And the rates that those people get out of the abusive situation is significantly higher than the
Mm.
rates of people who didn't have that advice. So even
That
if you can't, yeah, right?
well, because giving yourself agency over anything
Hmm.
reaffirms your own sense of control and self-worth.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of reasons to be passive aggressive, I guess, is the moral of the story. And again, definitely passive aggressive is usually seen as something very harmful, and it is when it's used in that harmful way. So hopefully this will help you with not feeling like your soul is being crushed, for responding to things that feel impossible to respond to, just to give you a couple of other options to just change something, make some decision about something, um, or to go a little deeper and make a decision that brings a little giggle, or that turns the situation topsy-turvy, or is very symbolic but doesn't hurt anyone.
For more resources, shop at www.upandupwellness.com and hit that subscribe button. If you are in crisis and struggling right now, the national hotline is 988 and they can help you any time of the day or night.